I love movies, and apparently, so do you. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is directed by David Frankel and once again follows Andy Sachs as she reunites with Miranda Priestly, navigating their careers amid the decline of traditional magazine publishing. I really like the first film and maybe even love it. I didn't really grow up with it like everyone else. I know some people, it was in their childhood, their family showed them, they rewatch it. Before revisiting it, like the week leading up to seeing the second film, I'd only seen it one time, and it was in like middle school or high school when it was toward the end of the year, and the teacher probably just wanted to show us something because there was nothing else to do. Leading up to that, I'm like, all right, I'd heard of it. It's probably some chick flick or whatever. Oh, like the girls in class talk about it. I've heard about it online. But no, I was actually surprised and I really liked it. A lot of guys, me included, will tell you it's a pretty fire film. And listen, I put my girlfriend onto the first film and part two. So yeah, me. It has great writing, sharp editing that makes it feel like an editorial, a killer 2000 soundtrack, iconic performances, and a relatable lead character all make that first film feel like a modern classic. It's for sure a staple for comfort films, but it's a lot more than that. It had a lot to say about ambition and proving yourself as a woman in the fashion industry or just the industry in general. And sure, did it fall into a lot of cliches and was it very predictable? Yeah, but I think that's kind of why we loved the first film, and wasn't it one of those movies that actually pioneered predictabilities in the first place? So it's safe to say I was pretty excited but also worried. Not as worried or excited as, a lot of fans going into this, but I had my reservations considering the first film is so iconic and none of us really asked for a sequel, so we were all waiting to see why they made it. But to be honest, I can say that for a sequel, especially in today's day and age, it's actually not bad. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is a pretty good movie and probably has no business being this good. It's funny, maintains the same feel as the original, and does a good job at picking up after all these years. However, it does still have its issues, and we're going to get into all that. David Frankel also directed the first film, so it was really nice to see him return, and because of that, it makes 1 and 2 feel like two cohesive films. Does it have nearly the same amount of energy or care as the first film? No, that was definitely lacking. And I know there's been a lot of debate online about the color and lighting of part two, which I understand because, yes, certain shots, they definitely don't have the same amount of life as the first one does. The first one is visually great, it has that 2000s feel that we're all constantly chasing. But even then, I really don't think this is as bad as people are saying, especially when you compare it to other, big studio films that we get nowadays. There actually is an effort to light and color these scenes. It's not as good, like I said, nowhere near, but honestly, it looks pretty nice, for most of the shots. People look cool. There's good production design. There's good costume design. Does it look kind of like a streamer from 2022? Yeah, it does at times, but it looks like an expensive one. And at least there was some attempt to actually color here. The key cast members are back and better than ever. We have Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Emily Blunt is back, Stanley Tucci is back, and they're all incredible here. Just seeing them come on screen is enough to put a smile on your face. And the new faces are good too. You have Patrick Bremmel, Caleb Heron, Simone Ashley, and Helen J. Shen, and even bigger names like Kenneth Branagh, Lucy Liu, and Justin Theroux, and a fuck ton of celebrity cameos, too many to even keep track of. I didn't know how to feel about the new additions that much, especially when it came to Patrick Bremmel, who plays her love interest, and I kind of felt like he was a pointless addition. He was cute, you know what I mean? It was a cute relationship. It was pretty funny. But overall, I felt like it was pretty pointless. Me and my girlfriend both agree that we didn't really think the romance was needed. It could have just been about the main plot and their ambitions. We didn't really need that. And everyone else is pretty funny and cool, but I think that's all they're really there for, is to just be funny additions, just like the cameos. They're just there almost like decoration. They don't really add much to the plot. The costume design and production design is just on full display here. You can tell that every dollar of that budget was put to the screen to make everyone and everything look great. And I just love when we actually see scenes filmed in New York still. It's super expensive to film there, so we barely ever see scenes like that anymore. So seeing them on the streets of New York just felt like we were back in the world again. This definitely isn't a copy and paste of the first film, but there are certain themes that are ripped right from the first one. Instead of trying to prove herself as an assistant to Miranda, she's trying to prove herself as a good journalist to Miranda. Just like in the first film where she realizes Miranda isn't that bad, in this film she realizes Miranda is that bad. Instead of the last act being centered around this big grand thing in Paris, now it's a big grand thing in Italy. But even with that said, it's not just a copy and paste, and it builds off the first film very well, and actually has a lot to say about the death of print media and the oversimplification of said media. And with that, we get a lot of funny moments of them trying to adjust to this new generation of media, how they interact with people in that space too. Throughout the movie, Miranda's constantly saying politically incorrect things, and her assistant is literally just there to be like, hey, you can't say that. And she's like, oh, whatever. So things like that were actually really funny and good ongoing jokes. The last act is pretty rough, though, I gotta say. It really started to drag, and I fell asleep. My girlfriend would tell you I fall asleep through a lot of things, though. And listen, it's true, but here I actually have a legit reason I was falling asleep, because the last act is just it was all over the place, and the whole Italy stuff I probably could have just done without, or it could have been done a lot more interesting. And the runtime was felt too. The movie sits at over 2 hours, and with all due respect, it didn't need to be. And if it is going to be about 2 hours or more, there need to be some worthwhile things happening. It just started to lose me in that section, and a lot of the stuff there just felt pointless. The Lady Gaga part was dope, though. I mean, she'll definitely get some type of nomination. This is their way of sliding into the Oscars, sneaking in there saying, all right, yeah, you can get Best Song. Overall, I think that this is a pretty good continuation of the first one. Is it anywhere near as good? Hell no. Is it anywhere near as iconic? No, not really. But it's a fun time. We all had a blast in the theater. It's making a ton of money, and I think that it's actually justified. People are having a lot of fun with this. They're laughing, they're crying in the theater, they're cheering. It's bringing the fans back, and I'm glad that people are in the theater supporting something like this too. It's one of those few times where the sequel is actually pretty good and lives up to the first entry. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I don't really know, that could change. I was definitely teetering between a 3 and a 3.5, but I do think it's an okay film. It's definitely around that average area. It was nice to see the cast come back. The direction was okay. Could have been a lot better, as well as the cinematography, even though I don't think it's as bad as everybody was saying. The writing was pretty good. There were some good jokes. I just think a lot of stuff in the middle to last act could have been a lot stronger, especially, wrap things up. I don't know if they want to make a part 3 or something, but if this is the last film we're getting, then you better make it count, especially since we didn't really need a part 2. But overall, I had a good time with this. I hope people will see this. Let me know what you thought in the comments. What were your thoughts on the film itself? Are you going to see it again? Did you take your family? Do you think that it was a justified return? Please let me know your thoughts. And thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, share, so I can maybe get a better camera and a better microphone and not this little mini one. Peace.